What's up, you guys? Happy New Year. I hope everybody had a Merry Christmas. In case you missed it, Meagan Good and Devon Franklin appeared on the Tamron Hall show recently, where they promoted their book, The Wait, which teaches people how waiting for everything from dating to sex can transform your relationship, allowing you to find a deep connection based on patience, trust, and faith, not just physical intimacy. Meagan and Devon got married in 2012 after 10 months of dating and a 2-month engagement, and during that whole time they were abstinent, and they were actually both celibate before even meeting each other. Devon has shared that he was celibate for years because he was a preacher and got tired of preaching one thing and doing another. And Meagan has shared that she was also celibate before meeting Devon, and that's part of what allowed her to hear God's voice clearly telling her that Devon was her future husband. So being that they were both so committed to celibacy even before meeting each other, I was surprised to hear that they were actually having sleepovers, quote unquote sleepovers, before they got married. Tamron Hall asked them about the specifics of being abstinent and what things they avoided, and they revealed that they actually didn't avoid sleeping together. Here's what they said about having sleepovers before getting married.
You, I think, were like the first ones to really, out of Hollywood, start talking about it. Well, you were.
Yeah.
What made you decide to go there? Because you didn't have to tell people what was happening in your bedroom, but you did. Or not happening. Sorry. Eventually happening, but not right away.
Oh, Lord. That's right. We had to wait. You know, I think we just wanted to share because relationships are so hard. Mm-hmm. And truth be told, there's not a lot of guidance out there. And so we wanted to share our truth, and that waiting to have sex was a critical part of the healthy foundation of our marriage and relationship, and we both were doing it independently. You know, I had been doing it for years before Meagan and I got together because, you know, being out in the world, speaking and preaching, telling one thing, there was a time when I was doing something different. And I wanted to reconcile who I was in public and in person, and in private, excuse me. So that's why I decided to wait. And I said, you know what, I'm gonna wait until marriage after I wasn't waiting. And then Meagan and I got together and found out she had been waiting.
Yeah. And Meagan, as I understand it, you've said in the past, you knew this was your husband before he knew.
Yeah.
How's that possible?
Well, it's really interesting because we had met 4 years prior to working on Jumping the Broom. And he was the executive on Jumping the Broom, I was the actress on the film, and I was on the tail end of kind of not so great relationship, not because the person, we just weren't right for each other, but I really got a chance to get to know him on set, and I thought, man, that's the kind of guy I wish I could marry. And that was it. He's the guy who gives you the job. That's all I thought about it. And then I got back from Nova Scotia filming, and I was like, man, Lord, I'm at a really hard place, like at a standstill in my life, and I'm really hitting a wall. What am I supposed to be doing? And the first thing that God told me was that it was time to get out of that relationship. The second thing that God told me was that it was time to be celibate. And the third thing that God told me was that Devon was my husband. And I was like, okay. And I was like, so, and I didn't know him that well. And I was like, so what do I do, Lord? And God was just like, nothing, just work on yourself. So I spent the next 9 months healing, working on damage from childhood, growing up in the business, things you just go through in life. And about 5 months in, I started telling friends and family that Devon was my husband. They were like, oh, really? They're like, does he know that? And I'm like, no. They're like,
so you had not
crazy.
even gone on a date?
No.
Didn't know anything about it.
I didn't talk to him at all.
This could have gone real creepy.
Yeah.
She's telling everybody, and somebody says, Devon, I don't know her.
I don't know what she's talking about. Yeah, no, I was just, at the time, I was an executive for Sony working on the movie, and she was one of the stars. So I was like, hey, you know what? That's the talent. I'm the executive. Like, I would never cross that line. And also, it's Meagan Good. So I'm thinking like, yo, like, that's just, you know, Meagan Good, the stars, the moon, you know, they're all in another stratosphere. And so when it came to reality that, like, wait a minute, at the Jumping the Broom premiere, 9 months after the movie was done, we started talking, and it felt like, wait, I think Meagan is interested in me.
Meanwhile, I had told all my girlfriends, I was like, you're meet my husband tonight, and everyone's like, okay, so we're following him around the party like teenage schoolgirls, like looking at him and stuff, and then we went out 2 weeks later, and then literally from the time of going out, it was 10 months later we were engaged, and 2 months later we were married.
So over the span of, what, 13 months, you were celibate in the relationship. You make this pledge to each other, you make it to God, but we're all humans and our bodies react to things. Absolutely. So did you avoid kissing? missing? A massage was out of order? I mean, because these things, I'm just being honest. Okay,
Come
we're all
on, you
grown
getting
in here.
all of it. Come on, Tamara.
I mean, you know my husband.
Yes, I do.
Right.
That's
My
brother.
husband, like, massaged my shoulder. I'm like, hey. You know, maybe not as often because we have a baby now, but hey, you know. But it's like, how did you avoid triggers?
You know, it's one of the things we talk about, in the book. We talk about the power of delayed gratification. We live in a time where everybody wants everything now. But there's a lot of value when we just wait and sit back and say, you know what, I'm going to delay this because if I do, I'll get what I actually want when it's time for it. So for us, we had to know our triggers. Now, that means some nights we could not Netflix and chill, okay? We couldn't do it.
Did you cuddle? You didn't stay in the same
but
house.
every day was different. No, we had separate houses. We didn't move in until
And
we
you
got
didn't have
married.
any sleepovers?
No, we had sleepovers.
Oh.
Yeah.
But again, you got to know your boundaries. You got to know your
So
triggers.
pillow in the middle?
Sometimes not.
Really?
It just depends. It just depends. Depends on how strong you felt on that day. So some days I'd be weak, she'd be strong. Some days she'd be weak, I'd be strong. So it was both of us wanting the same thing, but being okay to let moment by moment dictate what we did in those moments.
Leave a comment and let me know what you think about having sleepovers when you're in a celibate relationship. For me, I just couldn't do it. My willpower is not that strong, and I wouldn't recommend that anybody else test themselves like that. But leave a comment and let me know what you think. As always, thanks for watching.